VP, of course, of Capital Markets, Silver Bullet Mines, is joining us today. Peter, always good to be speaking. How are things?
Things are good. We're cautiously optimistic and stressed out.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, of course, there was news recently from the company that you've announced you've completed the first phase of development of the Washington mine in Idaho. And I do recall a podcast I did with John Carter, of course, the CEO, about a year ago now, where he says he sees the Washington mine in Idaho as one of its most promising assets and wanted to start work on that last summer. So just, I think, first of all, I just want to refresh on the Washington mine. I know you had those 12 points that you put out in the news release, which is just on the screen now.
Right.
But maybe just set the scene with Washington, take us back to basics. What's it all about? And then we'll dig into some of this recent news.
We purchased the Washington mine in December of 2021. There was a historical report by an engineer named Stoker. The report's available at our website, and it predates 43101, so all the usual caveats apply. But it's a very well-written report. Part of the first phase of this development was to prove up as many data points as we could that coincided with the Stoker report, and we're very happy to say that the data points we have found correlate to the data points in the Stoker report. So we have a high degree of confidence that report is accurate.
Okay, and that historical, it was mined originally for gold, is that right? But silver wasn't touched because of technicalities with processing the silver?
Well, it's hard to tell exactly what it was, but I can tell you with silver at 70 cents an ounce, nobody wanted silver. Geologically, the Washington mine was laid down in two different eras, so the geologists tell me. The person with a good eye could walk in and say, that's the gold hosted, that's the silver hosted. We're not touching the silver. Let's go get the gold. Mm-hmm. And at $35 an ounce on the gold standard, it was worth getting. They carefully blocked out the silver, mapped it out, engineered it out. So according to the report, there's 120,000 tons of silver mineralized material running between 30 and 90 ounces of silver per ton. When I tell experienced mining people this, they look at me and go, no, because bonanza silver is generally seen as starting at 30 ounces a ton, and that's the lowest end of our average.
Okay.
There's also some gold in there as a result of the Burger vein and some other scattered gold. Think of it like pepper in your jambalaya. So we're very excited to start work on it. This first phase has returned some spectacular numbers from the host rock, not even from the vein itself, but from the host rock. Of the 32 samples, almost every one returned anomalous silver with a little bit of gold. And that's all in the news release of May 1st.
Yeah.
So we're very excited to continue work on this.
So that's what you call this sub-rosa area, is it, where they've got like 32 ounces per ton of silver in the report? Yeah, okay. And your XRF readings, effectively, that they're not concretely backing them up, but they're suggesting that it's pretty significant.
Right, and with some gold scattered in there. So the Stoker report talks about the sub-rosa area, and we have exposed the sub-rosa area, and it will be one of the points that we go after in the near future.
Okay. Well, and what's the significance that you say when you say, you've said it there, and it was in the press release, you said it's in the host rock, which is not normally associated with mineralized material. So what does that mean exactly?
So some people call it country rock. We call it host rock. It's the rock around the vein.
Okay.
It's the rock that holds the vein. So you don't often see high numbers like we have in the host rock because it's the waste rock that's holding the vein together. Here, there's a lot of silver and a lot of gold in that host rock, which is very exciting.
So, I mean, yeah, what does it mean? So it means as well as the vein, where you're going to get that really heavy concentrated, is the whole area basically awash with silver?
It appears so.
Right.
I'm only the humble capital markets person, not the geologist. So I read the news release as you do. I get to ask the geo a few questions.
Right.
But it appears that the silver and the gold have been scattered further than just the 120,000 ton block.
Okay. You have a lot of silver, don't you, in your projects? They're always pretty high grade. I mean, that's unusual, I would say.
It is. Only 10% of the world's silver comes from silver primary mines. right? About 15%, I believe, is recycled, and the rest comes as a byproduct of nickel mining, VMS, copper
Oh.
mining. It's unusual to have primary silver mines, especially with this much gold in it.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hence why you, I guess, called silver bullet mines. It's all about the silver, effectively, and you seem to have got a lot of it. So, I
Right.
mean,
And
yeah,
we're talking about possibly doing a resource estimate up at the Washington mine in Idaho.
yeah,
I need to see a business case for it. I don't want to do one just to do one because everybody does one. I need to see if we invest $100,000 into a resource estimate, what business purpose does that serve? And only once the leadership team has a business purpose, we can make the final decision as
yeah.
to whether we'll do a resource estimate or not.
Right. Okay. So it's the same approach, yeah, to your other projects as well. Whether you go down the resource estimate or whether you actually just start getting the silver out the ground and processing it. So a lot of things were achieved as were announced in this news release here. So you've identified the zones as well, and you say you're now ready to commence mining with what you believe is to be the high grade material from multiple
Right.
targets. So I mean, yeah, this initial work then effectively is giving you confidence you're going to start mining effectively and processing.
Right. And you recall that the plan up in Idaho at the Washington mine is we've hired a contract miner to do the work. It's not, we have a couple of people on site, but it's not our field team actually doing the mining.
Sure.
The contract miner is being paid to go in, blast, muck, and truck a certain amount of volume to a local mill to be processed. We're making that as turnkey as possible, and it'll minimal capex from this point on for us.
Okay. And that mill, that I think that's quite. It's about 3 hours away, isn't it, from the mine
There
site?
are a few mills in the area.
Hmm.
We haven't decided which one. We've sent samples of the material out to the mills so we can
Okay.
talk to them intelligently about this is the material we'll be processing. These are the grades we expect. This is the kind of money we expect to see back once it's been processed.
Right.
And those conversations are underway.
Okay. Would you look to process it at your Arizona mill or not at the moment?
Not at the moment. We're going to calibrate that for one of the buyers of the Super Champ material. And you don't
Right.
want to spend the time recalibrating the mill,
Sure.
plus the cost of loading it up and trucking it down from Idaho.
Good. Okay. Excellent. So at Super Champ, things are continuing. The mill is good, or the processing and the mill, everything's running okay. And now you're about to get active, blasting, mucking, and effectively milling at a new project.
Right.
Well, yeah, at the
So,
Washington mine.
right. So think of the Super Champ is on a hill. So they're
Yes.
driving an adit through the bottom and an adit through the top that will both contact the vein. We've had to build a septic bed. We've put in timbering into the two adits. It's that boring infrastructure stuff that's absolutely necessary to the success of a project. They are blasting and they are removing material. At the mill, we've processed enough to send samples out to potential buyers. Every buyer has different specs. They have different terms of how they're going to pay. We will pay you 95% of spot for 90% of the value now, and in 6 months we'll give you the last 10% after we rationalize it. Someone else may say, no, we'll give you 90% of spot, but we'll give you more upfront on a shorter rationalization time. But you better make sure that we don't have either zinc or mercury or one of the other materials in there, because every mint and every smelter has its own capabilities and will want the concentrate processed as much as possible to its own capabilities. And if you don't run con to a buyer's specs, you're leaving dollars in the mill.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And where are we at then, effectively, Peter, with those? I know we're talking now about Super Champ, but where are we at
Right.
with those buyers and yeah, getting some cash coming in?
Well, that is the point. Every day we look at the treasury, every day we look at the revenue projections, and it's something that management is keenly attuned to. We have 2 orders in. We've announced them both. One is an open purchase order to give them as much as we want, and they will purchase as much as we can fill them. We are waiting for LOIs or POs from another 2 groups
Okay.
so that we can compare what is the best for our company and
Yeah.
our shareholders.
Okay.
Because not all the con is the same, not all the specs are the same,
Yeah.
and we're going to do what's best for our shareholders.
Right. Okay. And is it fair to say then that what's happening at the Washington mine now is sort of similar to what was happening at Superchamp, but back a few months? You're sort of going to the mill, you're running, seeing what you can get out, and you'll look to do the same thing with getting buyers.
Yeah, actually, kind of it's in reverse, because we've gone to the mill first and sent them samples, and we'll get quotes back from the mill, and then we'll ship them the material to the mill to process.
Right, okay. Oh, so the mill is they're going to buy it off you, so you're not selling the concentrate afterwards, they're going to buy the raw material off you.
As far as I know, we get the check from the mill.
Right.
And it's then the mill's responsibility to sell the resulting minerals.
Okay, good. And how do you feel about that mix of sort of processing, directly selling to customers, and also just selling to the mill directly in Washington?
It mitigates risk somewhat,
Sure,
as it puts the processing risk upon someone else's mill. And to a large extent, I don't care as long as we get revenue.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right? We are focused on revenue. I get phone calls from shareholders. I'm heading out this afternoon to go see one, and they ask, how are things going? And all we talk about is the revenue. We see the revenue. We're focused on revenue. Anything that doesn't get us revenue is irrelevant.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's good to have both in your mix there. Effectively, you've then got hopefully the best of both worlds. So 2 producing projects. Will it be a third this year as well?
We can get back into the Buckeye at almost any time. We've moved some of the equipment from the Buckeye to Superchamp, but we can move some of the equipment back, buy new equipment. Once we're in cash flow from these 2 projects, the perspective on other mines changes. We have that great historical report on the McMorris, giving an economic value on that. There are several other official mines on the Black Diamond property that we can reopen, and there are a lot of artisanal mines. You drive through that property, there seems to be a hole everywhere where somebody took a run at a stringer. So we have a lot of options at that Arizona property once we're into cash flow from the revenue.
Excellent. Well, Peter Clausi, as always, the VP of Capital Markets, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for hosting us.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at StockBoxMedia.com. Thank you for watching.